Hey everyone, we are live on Tuesday. I can't even talk today. Tuesday, September 19th. It is not Saturday. It's only Tuesday here, and it is quite cold here in Edmonton. It is feeling like definitely fall weather. So last year at this time, I don't know if you remember, it was actually quite warm. And I have said this before, and I'll say it again. The weather definitely does impact the real estate market. Now, there isn't the dreaded S word out there yet, but it's definitely feeling pretty cold. So, right now, currently in the market, you can take a look at the listings. We are hovering in that 2,800 active single family home listings. So, there's not a whole lot of active listings. It's stayed around this number for quite some time now. It's still declining as we go week over week. And I suspect it's going to continue to decline. Now, if we get to the point we're at 2,000 listings, I don't know what's going to happen because that's really low. I mean, we're already really low. Apparently, Calgary is lower than we are. We had a live last week with them, the guys in Calgary. So if you want to take a look at that video, they talk about their market. Their market never slowed down, whereas ours has. They have less listings and they have more sales than we do. And currently in St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, and Beaumont, you can see all of our listings are sitting in around the same as they were last week. So not a drastic change week over week. And what does that mean? It means that there's no new listings popping up. If there are listings coming up, they're the same amount are being sold. So the stuff that's sitting there could be the same stagnant things that have been sitting there for a while, because we are still seeing listings sit on the market. Pending sales in Edmonton in the last week, we did see an increase of new properties go under contract. 217 versus 199 the week before. In St. Albert, they saw half of the sales they did the week before. Sherwood Park, very similar, 16 to 13. Spruce Grove, also very similar, but Beaumont, also again the same. So everyone's seeing pretty much similar things except for St. Albert. Now, St. Albert's not the most affordable area in the surrounding areas of Edmonton. So that doesn't surprise me that that's starting to happen. There's only select people that are going to be able to afford to live there. There are some affordable neighborhoods, namely the older ones, and the newer neighborhoods are going to be a lot more pricey. So if you want a new build home, you're going to look either in Edmonton or Spruce Grove. Spruce Grove, out of all the ones I'm just telling you, Spruce and Beaumont are going to be more affordable. Now, sold in the last 7 days, these are either houses that went unconditional, which we don't see a lot of, just no offer or sort of no condition deals, or houses that were pending that they've removed conditions. So they went sold. We saw the change in Edmonton and surrounding areas to be pretty much the same. And again, in St. Albert, we saw a little less, but everything's pretty similar in terms of sold. Now take a look at last year. Last year, we were already slowed down. So we were very busy in the first half of the year, and then we slowed down in May, June, July, August, September. It was very quiet. And if you've been following along, we've actually been kind of matching last few months. We've been on par of what we were last year at this time. So if you want last year's pricing, you'll get it, but this exact last year's pricing, not last February's pricing. So compared to last year, we had 192 versus 216 sales. So we were actually even slower this year than last year. St. Albert, 7 versus 17. Sherwood Park, 11 versus 18. Spruce Grove is pretty much the same, and Beaumont, 4 versus 8. So we are actually, in fact, slower this year than we were last year at this time. And that doesn't surprise me because the market's going to start to slow down. We're more having a normalized market where things get quieter September, October, November, December, and start to pick back up in February, March, April. So I suspect next year's market is actually going to be quite busy in the normal times we see it busy. This year, we had a very slow start because the interest rates were still so high, and the winter weather. There was still snow, if you can't remember, in April. So if you're wondering what the real estate market is doing right now, I would say that it is definitely a very balanced market. However, if you go into certain neighborhoods that are more established, like Zone 17, for example, is Avonmore, Hazeldean, that kind of area, the more established infill areas, there's not a whole lot of options, and a lot of buyers are still watching and keeping an eye on that area. Same as the West End and Westridge. There's always people looking for Laurier Heights, for example. They're waiting for properties to show up. And so that's more of a seller's market, because if you're priced properly, you're going to pop up there and you're not competing really, because the other ones that are on there probably are overpriced and just sitting there, or something else is wrong with them. And so buyers, I've already seen them, and they're waiting for another property that's going to be decently priced, a decent condition for them to go in there and they're ready to buy. So those areas are still quite popular. Now, with new build areas, what's going on in new build areas? We're seeing new build areas be interesting because some of the builders have chosen to continue giving discounts, decent ones, and some of them aren't discounting, and some of them are giving very minimal discounts. So it is still a little bit more expensive to buy new than it is to buy resale. Whereas a few years ago, it was better deal to buy new than it was resale. Now you're still paying a bit of a premium. The premium is not as high depending on the area. And you still have to do landscaping and all those fun things. However, you're getting a brand new house. And so sometimes people would rather just pay that extra. And when it's not 50 to 100,000 more, which is what has happened in the past. Now things are starting to normalize in price. The resale market in those new areas are not getting what they were getting. They were, like, for example, in Secord used to be really hard to sell. Then during the boom years, everything sold really quickly, and now it's back to the slowdown, and the equity growth isn't the same in those areas again. So in the tougher times, the new build areas, equity is quite thin if it exists at all, because you're competing against the new builds. Even though the new builds are more expensive, people may be willing to pay just because it's new. So even if your house is 2 years old, it pretty much is new. For some reason, buyers don't look at resale and new homes. For our buyers, we always look at both, because whatever is the best option for our clients is going to be the best option. But if you're only in one zone, like only looking at show homes or only looking at resale, you're going to miss out to see what is really the best for you and your family. So when you're looking at areas, just be cognizant of it when you're buying. And also when you own a home, if you're curious how much your house is worth, definitely make sure you reach out to a realtor instead of just looking at the city assessed values, because city assessed values are based on permits. They're based on these weird formulas that I don't quite understand. The older areas, sometimes, a lot of times, are undervalued, and the new areas are usually overvalued. But at the end of the day, they do that for tax purposes and your property taxes, not because they're actually looking to give you your property value. So with that, next week, we'll talk more about what's going on in the real estate market. Our latest market stats for all of August video just came out on Friday, so make sure to check that out. Have a great day, everyone.